Chav Beis Amud Aleph, wrapping up the Sagadata. Right, so he said that Kaviyachol, that the language umishal nesayin of panav lavidoi kadam shenosei masi panav vakeshlashichos, like someone having a burden on one's face and wanting to throw it away. So too, he wants to pay back the Rishon right away to give them their reward in this world so that they can get punished in the next world. Okay, so let's see here. Let's continue. Lo ya'acher lusono. Let's see. Lo ya'acher lusono el panov yishalem lo. He will not delay. Amrav ilo lusono hudol yacher. He does not delay in giving those that are the Rishoyim their reward, but he will delay to those who are not his sonim. But to righteous people, he will delay the reward, because we know that that's l'tzadikim gumurim. For tzadik gomer, he will delay until the next world. This is what Yeshua Levi said. That I command you today to do them. Okay, pasuk in Devarim. Okay, famous drasha is hayoim la'aseisam v'lo l'mochel la'asosam. You got to do it today. You can't do it tomorrow. You can't say when I'll be 6 feet under, that's when I'll start doing the mitzvahs. You got to grab it now while you're in this world and while you're alive. Hayoim la'aseisam, and another inference to be made is it's today. To do them, that now is a time to do the mitzvos. Hayom lasosam l'mochel l'kabel schar, but it's tomorrow that you reap the rewards of those mitzvos. So it's not hayom lasosam and to get the reward for doing them, but it's today we're only doing. It's tomorrow in the next world that we are reaping the reward for that which we do. So the notion, like I've been a good boy, why aren't you doing this for me and that for me? That's not really a really legitimate argument. Let's see Rashi. V'lo l'mochar la'aseisam, the third narrow line of Rashi's. That after death, in that world to come, if he wants to fulfill mitzvahs there, it's not going to help him. The Misha Tarch B'Erev Shabbos, Yochel B'Shabbos. Like the Gemara says, it's only the people who toil on Erev Shabbos get to eat on Shabbos. But you can't wake up on Shabbos and say, I forgot to make a cholent, let's get out the beans and let's start cooking. It's too late. It's not where it happens. So this is where it happens, and the next world is hopefully when we reap the reward. Okay, no more Rashis. Back to the Gemara. Amrav Chagi, Vitamer of Shmuel ben Achmeni, my diksiv erech apayim. Okay, slow to anger, but two apayims are implied. Apayim, not erech af, erech apayim. Erech af mi boile. Should have said erech af. What's up? Is erech apayim? El erech apayim l'tzadikim, erech apayim l'rishoim. There's a slowness to respond to both the tzadikim and the rishoim. Let's see Rashi here. Apayim masha panim bein sheichakois bein zuamos. Okay, whether it be happy reaction or or an angry one. Apayim sheichakos marich umachla tzadikim lasalavoi. So the positive response is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not give you the reward right away, and he delays to get for the tzaddikim to get the reward in the next world where it really matters. Okay, in the negative af and the more serious af, the angry af is the face, so to speak, is the marach l'rishoyim, that he delays the rishoyim. Meaning he does not give them the punishment right away, and he waits to nail them in olam haba. Now, on the one hand, there is an anger involved, meaning that if you're not doing the Ratzon Hashem, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to give you the punishment in this world. He's going to wait. But there's another advantage, of course, of the waiting is that you still have time to do tshuva, and that's certainly part of the Marachaf. He started to get angry that even the Rishonim, who yes will get paid back in Olam Haba, but at the same time they have more time here to do tshuva and to change their ways. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this Agadita. Now ready for back to the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer ad Beis Hasayim. So Rabbi Yehuda said that the distance in the area of a pasi biros can only be up to 2 saws, 2 base saws of area, 500 square amos. But you cannot make a pasi bros bigger than that. Well, we had learned that the Chachamim clearly argue. So Shaila was asked in Rabbi Yehuda's position that there's a limit to the area of the pasi bros of 2 saws. So bor upasin kamar, oldima bor v'loy pasin kamar. We talk about the 2 base saws. Is it the bor with the allowance of those 2 amis, right? Of the extension that we said, how close could it be? It could be 2 amis. The wall, the L-shaped walls around the bar, you have to have at least 2 amis to go from the bar to the wall, or in a sense an imaginary wall, because it's only L-shaped corners. So the question is that these 2 base saws, is that the full extent of the square, including the corners and including that extra 2 amis, or do you have 2 saws just on the bar alone, just on the water hole alone is 2 saws? That's a base of Sayim. So I'm not, whatever. I mean, he writes base of Sayim and the words go over the square. So is the base of Sayim only the square, and then you have another 2 amas as a bonus because we're not focused on the area outside the water hole, or do we mean that you have 2 saws including the land outside the bar up until the square? So it's not a big nafkamina, but it's a nafkamina nonetheless. That when we talked about 2 saws, is just that the water hole alone, or is it the water hole plus 2 amis? And if you're going to wonder, well, maybe it's the water hole plus 100 amis. I mean, the Torah says for sure we're not going to give you more than that because you already used up all your space by the 2 saws of the bar. But maybe we'll cut you that extra 2 amis on each direction, because we're not focusing. Let's see the shaila more in depth as we go along. So one more time, Iboilahu bar pasim kamar are the 2 saws, the bar with the pasim, with the cropped out area, or odilma bar v'loy pasim. I'll give you this asayim just with the bar alone, and I'll throw in the bonus of those 2 amis each direction. That's not part of the base asayim. Come on, which one is it? What does he mean? So Adam knows ein of babaro. Do we say that a person focuses on the bar? When you look at that area, what do you really see? A guy's in that area. What is he really, seeing about that the square footage there? Is he only looking at the bar, and the other stuff is really inconsequential to him? Okay, or do you say? And if that's the case, so if you ask this guy how big is this area? What area are you dealing with? He'll answer, I'm dealing with a 2 saw area, because that's my watering hole. That's my bar that I'm dealing with, and that's what I'm focusing on. So is that what I'm focusing on? In which case, a person is going to, if you ask, what's the max area that you're functioning here, the answer will be 2 base saws. If that's the answer, we're good, because you're focusing on the bar, and then no one's going to make any mistakes about other halachic areas that might have a limit of 2 saws, and you're not going to go beyond that. So everything is good. Okay, v'lo gazrinan. There's no reason to make any xeris to limit that area. Okay, 1 second. So one more time. Adam knows saying ein of a bar v'lo gazrinan dim also tula yosef esasayim. Do you focus on the bar and you're in your mind you're within a distance and you're functioning with an area of 2 saws, and there's no room to be concerned that a person will take this situation and say, hey, I carried in an area more than 2 base saws here, let me do it someplace else. That's no, because you're not going to think you're carrying in a place more than 2 saws because you're focusing on the bar alone. Is that the way things are? In which case, there's no reason to intervene with Xera and no reason to limit, and to knock you down a little bit more than the 2 base saws from the hole itself, or or perhaps. One second, did I skip 2 words? Right? In a typical karfef, in a typical open field where, even though it's fenced in, if it's not meant for living, the limitation there of how much of where you can carry is 2 base saws specifically, and only that amount, nothing more than that. Or Dilma, or perhaps Adam Nosa Einav Mechitzaso. Okay, a person doesn't judge his area by the pit; he judges the area by the fencing. And if you ask this guy, how big of an area are you working in? He's going to say, oh, I'm working in 2,000 2 base saws plus 4 amis, right? Is it 2 plus 2, right? So it's 2 base saw and 4 amis, because I've got 2 amis on each side. So I was given more leeway. So he might look, if he's looking at that from that point of view, he then is going to go to the karfeif and he's going to say, oh, I have more than 2 base saws. I have 2 base saws and 4 more amis. And that would be a big mistake. That would be a very, very inappropriate a step to take, because you don't have those extra 4 amis. You only have 2 base saws specifically, the 500 square amis, right? So it's 500 or 500 and 8 to 504 maybe, whatever, right? Because you have 2 on each side, so 2 times 2 is 4, I guess, right? So right, so you have 504 square amis, so you got a lot. You got more play, more room to work with. And if that's the case, v'gazrina, and then we're going to have to make a gzeira. You're going to come to make a mistake and think you can carry in more than a base assignment a karfef, and that would be a very, very unacceptable result. So So what's the basic question? Is what's the mindset of a person? How does he think? Let's take a look at Rashi. Bor upasin roichev, about a third of the way down to Rashi. Bor pasin roichev abor imchol hekef apasin harcholkin shteyamis. Do you calculate the width of the bar in your limitation of 2 saws, the 500 square amis? Is it the bar with the cholol around it, with the space around it of 2 amis each direction, which is the minimum space of the head of the ox together with the majority of his body? Or no, we're going to give you a little bonus today, a little extra time, a little extra space, and we're going to give you the 500 square amas and the 2 amas in each direction. So what's the basis? Do we say Adam knows a person focuses on the bar? If he's going to start extrapolating an allowance from this case to another case, he's going to focus on the bar, and he's going to say, they allow me to carry in 2 saws here, so that's the distance that I'm allowed to carry in other places. He's going to learn out from the pit. For an elevation assignment, it's all good because a pit is exactly 2 saws, which is exactly the right amount. Even though the S is an additional amount surrounding the pit of 2 amas in each direction, you're not going to, from there, come to allow another area of more than 2 saws, 2 base saws, the alma, typically in another case, in a case where that area was not surrounded for living, right? If you're surrounded for living, you can go as big as you want. You can have a karfef the size of 2,000 of Los Angeles, and that also could be good if everyone's living in there and is surrounded with walls. That's all fine and dandy. But if it's not hukah fladira, it's like an open field type of area, but now you made a fencing around it. If it's more than base 2 sasayim, you can't carry there. So is that the way it is? In which case, I don't have to intervene. Everything is good. Odilma, or perhaps the person does not focus on the pit; he focuses on the mechitzas. If he's going to extrapolate an allowance from here to another case, a little now from the fencing, from the walls. If you're going to allow it here, you might come to allow it someplace else. In which case, I have to limit you to two beisas, including the area of the land outside the pit, because that's what you're really going to be calculating in your own head. So which one is it? So let's see. That's a shayla. It's a toshma. Back to the Gemara coming here. How close can the cropped out area be, the L-shaped boards? How close can they be to the well? And we had this before. The distance of the head and the majority of the cow. How far away could you make the walls? Well, this is a Tanakama. I feel karayim. Way big. 1 core, 2 cores, keep going. You have a lot of space. You're good to go. Okay, way more than a beisah. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer, a beisah sayim muter, sayim aser. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who cuts it way shorter. And he says, you have 2 saws. You have yois beisah sayim aser, but if you have more than 2 beisahs, you cannot carry there. You cannot take the water from the well to the area outside the well if the total surrounding area is more than Beis Hasayim. So Amru Lo Rabbi Yehuda. They told Rabbi Yehuda, Yata Moda B'dir V'Sar Muksa V'Chotzer. Remember we had this before. Don't you admit that in areas that you live in, areas that are called Hukah Fladira, okay, that like what do they call those places where the animals, a fold? Yeah, whatever that is. And a sahar, it's a corral. A muks, it's like a backyard. V'chotz is like a front yard. In those cases, is there any limitation if you're the king of Siam and you want to have a really big front yard? Okay, and it could be humongous, 50 acres. Go ahead. I feel base chameshes kurim, base asaras kurim. You can have as big as you want. Shemutter, right? So you have to admit to me that if you had a front yard that you live in and you have your, all your lawn things going on and everything, all your places that you take things out and you relax there, that's, if it's Hukal Fadira, you can go as big as you want. So there's also Hukal Fadira in the sense because you function there. People come in and out, they're using it for the water, they're busy there. This is not like ungrazed, pasture land. It's very different here. So why isn't it the same thing? So he says, so Amalehem, so Rabbi Yehuda answers back, it's a nice try. There's a big difference between your front yard or your backyard or your fold or your corral is different. Why? Because Amalehem zumachitza ve'elu pasin. Because how could you compare a legitimate walled-in area as opposed to the bar, which is, cropped out in this very shvach 4 L's surrounding you, which is much more open space and closed space. What kind of comparison? You give me a legitimate enclosure, I can tell you, go ahead, make it 50 acres wide. But you're dealing with the shvach L-shaped, the thing is almost like a joke there. You got so much opening as opposed to the closure, how could you compare? Okay, that's Rabbi Yehuda's answer to the Chacham, to the Tanakama. Rav Shimon Elazar now chimes in and he says, Bor basis sayim mutter. Okay, if you have a bor, 2 saws by 2 saws, okay, mutter, it is now mutter, there it's mutter to carry. For the omru laharchik, and the only thing you have to now distance from that bor, el gnei rosh of rubo shalpara, the distance of the head and the majority of the cow. So what does it sound like? Now, this is Rav Shimon Elazar. What does Rav Shimon Elazar sound like? Hamid Rav Shimon Elazar bar v'pasin. Right? So it sounds like Rav Shimon Elazar clearly is giving you an allowance for the bar itself to be 2 beisos, because that's his language. He says, and he adds the 2 amis on either direction as an extra. He throws it in. But he says the allowance to carry is in an area which is 500 square amis, to a distance of 2 beisos by 2 beisos, which that the beisos is already squared, but basically it's a distance of 2 saws, basically 500 square amas. So if Rav Shimon Elazar is adding his position to this argument and saying the allowance is the full 500 amas plus the 2 amas, Michlal, can't I infer that that's not Rabbi Yehuda's position? Michlal Rabbi Yehuda bar upasin kamar. That Rabbi Yehuda gave you the 2 base saws. He meant the bar with the distance of the ground in that calculation. He didn't mean it that you have a plus. There's no bonus mileage here. You just have the entire area in the full cropped out square must be 500 square amas.
Rabbi, I'm really trying to follow this, but I got to tell you, when you talk about, if I'm looking at this and I know that the water hole is 2 base saw, that's the water hole.
Right.
Why would I think that it wouldn't include around the area around it to be the cow's head and the rest of its body to be in it? So it's the water holes 2 base saw plus the extra. How else can you look at it?
Very simply, I would not have looked at it that way.
Why?
Because because the question is, what's the full area that you are allowed to enclose with those 4 L's?
But if the water hole itself can only be 2 base saw.
Well, how do you know that? Maybe the message is the entire cropped out square can be 2 base saws. I mean, it's a minor difference. I mean,
but where's the language that says the water hole has to be 2 base saw, and then how can you drink?
That's the language of Shimon Elazar. In his world, it's very, very clear. But in Rabbi Yehuda's world, it's not so clear what he meant. He just said the area that you cannot make these pasi bureaus bigger than 2 base saws. So I would have, if I had to guess which one, I would have walked away with, that it's the entire square. That, not the square of the water hole, but the square around the picture frame, right? I mean, it's really, it's a very, easy shiloh to see. In other words, we're talking about how big is the difference between the picture frame, and the actual watering hole. We're just 2 amas in each direction.
Where is the language that makes that distinction?
He says ad beis hasayim. Rabbi Yehuda said up until 2 saws. Up until what? Up until the edge of the bar, it could be 2 base saws, or up until the edge of the cropped out area could be 2 base saws. It's a very, you can easily see it 2 ways.
No, I can't, because a water hole's a water hole, and you can't go there and have.
You're focusing on the water hole. I'm focusing on the expression pasi bros. What are pasi bros? Pasi bros are those L-shaped areas that will let you to create a wall around the pit to let you carry from the pit to your animal, right? But this whole thing is not about. It is a water hole, but it's a water hole that's we are allowing you to carry from the water hole to your animal, right outside the pit, in that area. So. Yeah, the only thing that I grant you, which the Gemara is granting, that Rav Shimon Elazar is very clear. Rav Shimon Elazar is clearly focusing on the water hole and saying the water hole could be 2 base saws. Okay, but we're extrapolating. Oh, that's Rav Shimon Elazar's position. But Rabbi Yehuda didn't give you the water hole plus the outer area. He must be limiting you that in totality, it's 2 base saws. And in reality, it's 492 square amas of a water hole plus 496 plus 4 amas square on the outside. What?
So less because it's 2 amas, the areas around each side. So
whatever. It's just right. Do the math, whatever. But
So I just have to look at the language again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. It could definitely be read any one of 2 ways. But you're right about Rav Shimon Elazar. That the Gemara is actually using that as its proof. So 1 second, where are we here? Rav Shimon Elazar mutter. So right. So let's read one more time. Me to come Rav Shimon Elazar bar v'loy pasin. Since Rav Shimon Elazar is clearly focusing on the water hole and not the cropped out area. Michlal Rabbi Yehuda baru pasin kamar. Okay, I can therefore infer that it's a bar with the pasim that are allowed to be 200, and we're machmir, that the bar pasim has to be 500 square amas, but not the bar separate from the pasim. To which Gemara says, sorry, nice try, but v'lohi. But your raya is not a good raya. Rabbi Yehuda bar beloy pasim kamar. Rabbi Yehuda is talking about a bar without the pasim. Okay, that's not what he was. He's not arguing with Rav Shimon Elazar about that area. Really? if it's bor without the pasin, that means the bar itself could be, which is more, that's what Gary wanted it to go, that it's a bar itself could be 500 square amas. Well, then if that's the case, then the two people are saying the exact same thing, two Tanoim, and not disagreeing, which cannot be. Why would Shimon Lazar chime into a Mishnah, or a Brisa rather, without adding something new to the equation? To which the Gemara answers, he did add something new to the equation. Okay, the nafkamina will be, does it have to be square or could it be rectangular? According to Shimon Lazar, he was very, very clear. He says, "Beis Sayim, a Beis Sayim." In his world, it's got to be a square, and only a square would let you go, to the distance of 500 square amas, but in a square form. But if according to Rabbi Yehuda, since he doesn't limit it to a square situation, in his world, you could even go rectangular as long as it ends up with the same 500 square amas. Rectangularly, it's not going to be a problem. So there is enough community between one and the other. Okay, let's do the Rashis. Right, so when we talk about going above and beyond, you're allowed to go 2 amas additionally outside the bar of Beis Hasayim. So what's the nafkamina between one and the other? The answer is aruch v'katan. Let's say kuf al nun. Let's say I have a watering hole which is 100 by 50. Right, so this, as far as square amas, you're in the game. The Beis Hasayim kechotza mishkan, which is exactly like Sasayim, the way the Mishkan was set up. Right, the entranceway of the Mishkan, the chutzner of the Mishkan. According to Yehuda, even though it's not squared, it's rectangular, mutter. Okay, it's okay. You can have such a water hole, and you could do your business there. As long as the total area, the square footage, is not bigger than two saws. But according to Shimon, if you look at his language, he's very clear to tell you, be'inon meruva. You need it to be squared. Kedamar behedya, as we say explicitly, beis hasayim, a beis hasayim. Okay, as he uses the language of a beis saw against a beis saw. The v'shivim amma v'shirayim al shivim amma v'shirayim. It's 70 amas and a mashu by 70 amas and a mashu. Kedamar behai pirkin cotton chotzer barochvo. As we're going to say later on. Cut in the word, okay, as we're going to say later on, and the word cut means it's less than in its width than it is in the length. So it's obviously not a square, it becomes a rectangular shape. Okay, let's go weiter, ready to proceed. Getting closer to the Mishnah. So, Klal Amr Shimon Lazar. Here's the general rule that Shimon Lazar laid down for us. Kol Avir. Shitashmishal Ladira, any airspace that's used for living there, and it's part of your living environment, like today's backyard. Certainly, that's part of when you're checking a house out, you want to see the backyard because that's part of where you live. Okay, so any airspace which is used for dira, going dir, visar, muksa, v'chatzer, like these 4 areas we just spoke about. Afil beis chamishis kurim. Beis Asaras Kurim Mutter. You can surround it, even it could be the use in Astrodome. It's all fine. All that is fine because you live there. It can be as big as you want it to be. Mutter. It's okay. But if you have a space that's really not for living in that that area is only there to facilitate usage outside of it. Going burgenin, shabisaros, like remember those huts we have in the fields? Okay, so in that situation when it's surrounded, okay, not for the purpose of real living, but for the purpose of sort of facilitating use outside of it, beis hasayim mutter, yos beis hasayim aser, then you're limited to the beis saw distance, the 500 square amas, and nothing more. I guess if you got a really pretty big hut, 500 square amas, I guess it's not huge, but it's not small, and so a burgener would not be called hookah fladira, tashmisha ladira. That would be tashmisha la'avir, and therefore there would be you could not make a hut, you could not carry within a hut bigger than 500 square amas. Okay, Rashi, Kol Avi Afapisha Ena Mukura, even though it's not covered, which certainly, in a Rishus HaYachid, in a house, for example, normally your house is covered. So again, the Astrodome wouldn't count because Astrodome is covered. Okay, like a stadium. Okay, Afpisha Ena Mukura, Im Tashmisha Ladiras Adam. Okay, if its usage is for the servicing of a human to function, okay, to go in and out constantly. If you're going in and out all the time, that's called tashmisha ladira. V'chadir shi mechusa begag. Okay, and any dira which is covered with a roof, v'hiasuya l'shmiras avish achutzala, but it's meant to protect the space outside of it, even if it is covered. Right, because it's funny. The statement itself doesn't mention the gag. Rashi's throwing it in. I guess that's maybe explained later on. But if you're not hookah fladira, then even with the gag, it's not going to work. Okay, then even the burgan, which has a hut, right? The whole idea of the burgan was for those watchmen who were watching the fields outside there. They had the protection from the sun, so they wanted to be in the shade. Clearly, if you want to be in the shade, then you can't have an open, non-roofed area. So then, but even though you have the covering, if it's not hookah fladira, the asul shmiras avish chutzala, then you have beis hasayim, and you don't have an inch more than that. Okay, very good. We're ready for the next mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im hayaderech rishus harabim mafsakos. We had this earlier. That what do you do when you have rishus harabim? Okay, okay. There you have the nice diagram. Okay, number 40 in Pirush Chai. So if typically, obviously, the people were walking through the Pasi Bureaus, and that would be a problem according to Rabbi Yehuda. You've got the multitudes walking. And that's Wilshire Boulevard. So you what are you going to do? So you do what happens in LA, right? When you want to extend the freeway. So while you're working on this, you want to keep this right. You annoy everybody by making they create new lanes till they to get you on the side, to drive you, to push you on the side to go outside that area. So Yehuda says you got to derail or reroute the group outside the Pasi Bros, because if they continue to walk through, that's going to nullify the walls of that cropped out area, and it's going to render it useless. Because how could you have walls around an area that it's constantly being bombarded by people all day long? So one more time, if the derech rishus harabim broke the walls and interrupted the four cropped out L-shaped walls, you got to knock them out to the side, like he says over there. You reroute them, and now they don't go through. You make signs, a private property and detour, and you walk through the side. Chum say you don't have to do that. I'm not concerned about the multitude. Let the multitudes come in. A multitude can't break existing walls.
So if you're okay with this?
What? Why not?
No, but I'm saying you don't see anything done there. You just see that the people aren't walking.
Well,
I'm saying you don't need to do. I mean, he's not saying.
Well, you can infer that before you did that,
right,
they're walking through the middle,
right,
and that would be the problem.
Right, but I mean, he's not saying that you need physical structure there.
No, as long as they're right, I guess. As long as they know to go through the side, then you're in business. Let's see Rashi. No Rashis. Okay. So Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar, Damar Tavai, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar both say Kan Hodiacha Kochan Shel Mechitzos. Okay, this tells you the Chachamim's position here, who say that we don't care if all the crowds that now come down Wilshire and break your Pasi Bros, doesn't bother us. It's all good to go. Says Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar, this teaches you the power of Mechitzos according to the Chachamim. So, Kan V'Sfirule. So, it sounds like this is a place where the Chachamim assert their view of the power of Mechitzos, and they agree with that, right? I mean, if you're quoting it and you're saying this is a place where you can extrapolate what the Chacham holds, sounds like they agree. Really? Kan V'Sfirule? Is it here and they agree with the Chachamim? Is that what you're really saying? Rabbi Barachan, Amar V'Yechel Yerushalayim L'Moli Del Asosas Nenalos B'Layla, the city of Yerushalayim, not our city, the old city of Yerushalayim, that has walls around it, right? And in those cities, that used to be Yerushalayim, okay? And Ramot was only a Havamina, okay? So if they didn't have the doors closed at night, that would be legit Rishus Rabim. But it sounds like, okay, what's that saying? If you didn't have the door, if you didn't have the walls closed, if you didn't have the doors closed at night, then we would consider Yerushalayim, a completely enclosed city, to be like what? Like Rosh Hashanah. The only thing that why it's not a Rosh Hashanah is because of the doors that close, right? So you got a nice, I guess, sort of nice picture of Yerushalayim there, okay? And what's the message? That even though you're surrounded, the fact that you have multitudes that go through the city every single day from Shar Yafo through Shar Shechem, that breaks the walls. So it sounds like Rebbe Lazar, our good, very own Rebbe Lazar, that's your building Rabbi Yochanan. From Rabbi Yochanan, right? So one of the two Amoraim who made that statement was Rabbi Yochanan. Sounds like he does not agree with the Chacham, because he says that the only way you can make Yerushalayim into a private domain is by having the doors closed at night. If the doors were not closed at night, the fact that you're naturally surrounded by all these walls would not be enough. So you see that he does not agree. Teretz says, you're right. Elokan vosfirle. This is where you see the Chachamim, but do I agree? Says Rabbi Yochanan, no, I do not personally agree. I'm just trying to point out that this is a strong statement of strength that the Chum are teaching us, but I don't really agree with them. Look at Rashi. Chayav ala alma. What do you see? If you needed the doors to be closed in order for the Rishus Ram to be nullified and to make it like Rishus Yachid, that must be that he does not really agree. So Elakan v'lo yisfirle. So rather it's here and he does not agree. Okay, fine. So V'ramid Rabbi Yehuda ad Rabbi Yehuda, V'ramid Rabbanan ad Rabbanan. So now we've established that at least we don't know about Rabbi Lazar, but Rabbi Yochanan for sure does not agree with that position. He holds that the multitudes do break the walls. So, but now I got a new problem. What's the new problem? I got to steer between one Rabbi Yehuda and another, and I got to steer between one Rabbanan and another. What's that? The Tanya. As we learned the Brisa, yes, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says even more than that. We had this also a number of times already in the Masechta. Remember, you had two houses on two opposite sides of Wilshire Boulevard, and you want to be able to play ball from one house to the other and throw the ball across Wilshire Boulevard. What do you got to do? Also, lechi mikan v'lechi mikan, or kor mikan v'kor mikan. Either you put two posts on one of the houses on each side of one house to make it look like you're sort of enclosed a little bit more, or you can put a beam here and a beam there. And then you can go ahead and carry in between. So, and what did the Chacham answer back? You can't make an Eruv that way. That's not going to allow you to carry. Okay, so what do you see from here? That there you had the multitude going through Wilshire, and what's the halacha? That you can enclose it even though the multitudes go through. So Rabbi Yehuda seems to be backtracking, and the Rabbanan go the other way. So I have to see how this works out tomorrow.